Well, I've lived all over the western New Jersey, northwestern New Jersey. I lived in Frenchtown, and this pipeline is supposed to cross the creek that's right behind the cabin that I used to rent in Frenchtown, and it's a beautiful place. There's no way a pipeline should be going there. This is about profit for a gas company. That's it. At the cost to all of the citizens along the route, there's nothing in it for them. I believe we will beat this pipeline. If we don't stop it completely, I believe we'll force cohabitation of better than 80% of this pipeline. It should be cohabitated with other infrastructure and not cutting a new swath through this beautiful part of New Jersey.
Can you hold your sign up so we can get a look at that?
We will now begin with the most important part of the meeting, where we hear your comments and questions. I ask that when I call your name, you come up to the microphone and state your name and spell it for the record. I also ask that everybody else in the audience respect the speaker and refrain from any audible show of agreement or disagreement. It is to your advantage if you do that. Otherwise, we lose time in between and we just hear all the noises, not the real comment from the speaker.
Good evening. My name is Maya Van Rossum. I'm the Delaware River Keeper, and I'm here speaking on behalf of the Delaware River, the Delaware River Keeper Network, and all of the communities who depend upon and care about our beautiful Delaware River and the tributary streams you find within its watershed. Penn East will inflict a significant and enduring level of harm to the ecology, the economies, the history, health, safety, and quality of life of our communities. And yet there is no demonstrable or defensible community need for the Penn East pipeline or the gas that it will pass. And that means that if this region were to invest in clean energy technologies, it would create and sustain a significantly higher number of jobs and benefits than if the pipeline is built. And at the same time, we will be protecting the lives and the jobs that are created and sustained by our healthy ecological systems. Our clean and healthy Delaware River supports over $22 billion of annual economic benefit and hundreds of thousands of good-paying jobs every single year. And that is, of course, in addition to the pure, clean, healthy drinking water it supplies to over 17 million people, the unrivaled recreation, the irreplaceable beauty, education, and quality of life contributions it already makes as a member of our community. Any NEPA analysis, do not interrupt me, sir.
Awesome.
Any NEPA analysis needs to compare their benefits, the benefits of preserving our river, our watershed, and our communities to irreparably harming them. Any valid NEPA analysis will determine that any valid NEPA analysis will ensure that the pipeline alternative will be selected. That is the only option we will accept. And we are here to tell you today that we will defend our river and we will defend our watershed and we will defend our communities with our voices, with our lawyers, and with our bodies. So
I am the Delaware River Keeper. I am the person that has the honor of bearing the title of being the Delaware River Keeper, which means my job is to be the voice of the river and to make sure that anytime anybody anywhere is making a decision or taking an action that could harm the Delaware River or any of its tributary streams, it's my job to make sure that the needs of the river and its tributaries are not just heard and understood, but are given the highest level of protection in whatever process is going on. But you know, and I know, that it is not the job of one person to protect any natural resource, especially not one as large as the Delaware River.
The right to pure water,
clean air, and a healthy environment are inherent and indefeasible rights that belong to all of us, we the people, by virtue of the fact that we are here on earth. They are not rights that were given to us by Article 1, Section 27 in Pennsylvania. They are simply rights that were acknowledged by Article 1, Section 27 by the Environmental Rights Amendment, and that made very clear that every level of government has an obligation, a substantive obligation to proactively protect our right to pure water, clean air, and a healthy environment. But even more than that, the conservative Pennsylvania Supreme Court said these are rights that don't just belong to the people here today, but they belong to all the future generations yet to come, which really raises the bar of protection. But the thing for New Jersey, for Delaware, for other states across the nation, is that point that these are inherent and indefeasible rights, which means it doesn't matter where on earth you are. You have a right to pure water, clean air, and a healthy environment. And so that's part of what we are battling for here with this pipeline, is the protection of those environmental rights of generations here today and generations yet to come.
I feel very honored to be the person to bear the title of being the Delaware Riverkeeper, and I take it very seriously. I think it's a big responsibility, and every day, when I'm worried about doing something or whatever it is, whatever decision I'm making, I really think to myself, is this what the river would want? Is this what the river needs? So I really take it very responsibly. I think the only thing that I can say about how I got to become the Delaware Riverkeeper and to have this wonderful honor was that I wasn't ever willing to sell out. When I was, graduating college, I decided to go to law school to become a better environmental advocate, not to be a lawyer. And then when I was going to graduate law school, so many people, it's amazing how many people and your classmates try to get you to sell out and say, well, just go work for a couple of years and make a lot of money and pay off your law school bills, and then you can come back and work for a nonprofit or the government or do the right thing. And I would say to them, but in those 5 years, you've created such irreparable harm. Like, you can never make up for that. I would rather sell shoes than go out and do something that would violate the earth and violate my principles. And the universe made it all work out. So I just believe by being committed to doing what's right and what's just, that I was fortunate enough that the universe helped me put me on the right path. That really is my place to be.
And you come out here and it makes you so angry. Look at this. This does not belong in our wetlands. This does not belong in our natural areas. The law shouldn't allow this to happen, number one. And number two, the pipeline company shouldn't be allowed to come in and be required to do this. This is a natural flowing ecosystem. This needs care and love and protection. It doesn't need this junk dumped in it by a profiteering pipeline company. And that any individual, for any reason, would come in and try to make the argument that this is okay when we know we have other options, when we know we can do sustainable energy options, is just despicable. And it's really, it really is a betrayal, not just of the public today, but it is a betrayal to future generations. And it's a betrayal to the people of the past that put in so much hard work and time and energy and money into preserving these lands.
From a very early age, whether it was a wounded critter or a classmate who needed help, I felt very personally it was my duty to rise up and help and defend and be there for them. And then the other thing is I really had a really wonderful mother, and she was not an environmental activist. She did not go out into the world every day planning to fight the good fight. She went out to live her life, but she recognized the importance and the value of living lightly on the earth, which included living responsibly and being thoughtful about what you did. So I grew up with cloth bags. I grew up with reusable cups. I grew up composting. And I grew up with a mother that every fall would take our VW van and drive around the neighborhood collecting big black trash bags of leaves that people were throwing out as trash, and the trash men were picking up as trash. And so you had the loss of the leaves from the natural system, and then you also had these big plastic trash bags that were just filling up landfills, and they were filled up with leaves that just got thrown away as waste. And my mother just recognized that, what a horrible loss this was, and how wrong it was. And so she would drive around every fall and just mash these bags into the van. And the interesting thing was she would always invite me to go. And I would love to go because I wanted to go be with my mother and help my mother. But I also remember that when we would stop and if the homeowner was, off there, being embarrassed and stepping back. And yet my mom, she would just keep doing it. She'd go, hello, hello. And she would say, I hope it's okay. I'm just changing this. And truly, some people would come and be very kind, and some people would give her harumph, but it was their trash. So they wouldn't stop it. And what I just came to relish was how wonderfully my mother embraced. It didn't matter what people thought of her. She knew this was the right thing to do. So she did it.
Why? Why is this happening to us? Don't we as people here on this earth have a right to clean water, clean air, and a healthy environment? Isn't that our right by virtue of the fact that we are people here on this earth? And the answer is no. You don't have a right to clean water, clean air, and a healthy environment. You have a right to all kinds of things. You have a right to free speech. You have a right to freedom of religion. You have private property rights. In the state of New York, you have the right to gamble. In many states, you have the right to get divorced. But you do not have a right to clean water, clean air, and a healthy environment in the Bill of Rights sections of our state and federal constitutions. So no, you do not have that right.
Our current system of environmental protection laws are failing us. They are focused on managing pollution and managing degradation and managing environmental harm through things like permits. They are not focused on preventing pollution and preventing harm. And as a result, we have communities across the nation that are suffering very deeply. They've lost their health, the quality of their lives, the peace and sanctity of their homes, their property values. Jobs have been impacted and local economies. People's health and safety have been lost because our government officials have been focusing again on pollution and degradation as a necessary evil that's going to happen, so just how do we manage it rather than how do we prevent it. And a green amendment that recognizes and honors the right to pure water, clean air, and a healthy environment as an inalienable right in the Bill of Rights section of the Constitution changes all of that. It focuses the government on preventing pollution and preventing harm, and it also empowers people in their hearts and their minds because they're no longer hoping that their government officials would do the right thing when it comes to environmental protection. They go into meetings and they go into boardrooms and they go into hearing rooms expecting that their government officials are going to do the right thing, and when it doesn't happen, rising up firmly and passionately and demanding it, just like we rise up firmly and passionately when any other constitutional right is violated. So it changes the landscape entirely.
It's a promise.
Yeah, and what it is, it's a right. We people here on this earth have a right to a healthy environment. We have a right to have that expectation. And we all know it in our hearts. If you go into any community and you ask somebody, do you have a right to expect that when you get a glass of water out of your faucet, or your child gets a glass of water out of your faucet, that glass of water is going to be free of toxins that are going to give you cancer or make you ill? They say, absolutely. Do you have a right when you breathe in air to know that what you're breathing in is not going to make you fall down on the ground with an asthma attack or a heart attack or any sort of horrible illness? Or that when you eat food, you're not ingesting dangerous toxins that have been placed in the soil by humans? And everybody says, absolutely. Everybody recognizes that we as people here on this earth have a right to clean water, clean air, and a healthy environment. And sadly, what they don't realize is you may have a right in your heart and in your mind, you may have an inalienable right, but you don't have a constitutional right. And here in the United States of America, if you don't have a constitutional right, then you do not have the level of respect or protection you need to ensure that you truly have access to clean water, clean air, and a healthy environment.